What's going on, Broncos country? Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about whether or not it would make sense for Denver to go out and sign the former All-Pro linebacker Shaquille Leonard. And then the back half of the show, we're going to look through some Kareem Jackson replacements as he got hit with a 4-game suspension. But let's start things off by talking about Shaq Leonard, who was waived by the Colts today, and he tweeted out a goodbye post to Indianapolis. And my initial thought was like, oh, Shaq Leonard is retiring, I guess. And then 5 minutes later, we got the news that the Colts are waiving Leonard. Now, there are some nuances to this. One, he signed a 5-year, $98.5 million contract. So unless you want to claim him on waivers, which means you get Shaq Leonard and his contract, which is $6.3 million for the rest of the season, then you're probably going to want to wait for him to go through waivers and be a free agent. My suspicion is not a single team will put a waiver claim in for him. They don't want to pay him $6.3 million for the rest of the season. They would rather test him on the open market. So that is my first inclination that Denver's not going to put a claim in for him, but they might have some interest in Shaq Leonard, the free agent, which will be 24 hours from now. And why wouldn't they, right? We're talking about a 3-time Pro Bowl and All-Pro player from 2018 onwards. Now, the start of Shaq Leonard's career is incredible. I mean, 2018 to 2021, doesn't miss a beat. 11 interceptions. Guys, he's a linebacker. Like, those are numbers that DBs dream of having over a course of a 2 to 3 season span. He's getting that as a middle linebacker. 17 forced fumbles. I don't know which number is more crazy, the interceptions or the forced fumbles, or maybe even the sacks. I mean, the guy is not an edge rusher, and he's still finding the quarterback. However, injuries have somewhat derailed his career. You look at what he's done over the last 2 years, just 12 total games. This year, he has started for the Colts, but he has been a rotational linebacker. That's a very expensive rotation, right? $98.5 million for a guy to play 70% of defensive snaps is not good value right there. Now, the issue is I don't really know if Shaq Leonard fits into Denver's system all that well. Okay, the Broncos run a 2-linebacker system primarily. Josey Jewell and Alex Singleton. And then they've got 2 outside linebackers in Cooper, Bonito, and Baring. And then, of course, your defensive line. So, unless Shaq Leonard is on board with less snaps, because I don't think he's going to come to Denver and just outright take Josey Jewell's spot or Alex Singleton's spot. So, if he's on board with a rotation, which Denver doesn't really do a rotation. Like Jewell and Singleton pretty much play from start to finish. Then I don't see a way he comes to Denver unless Denver says, we're going to bench Alex Singleton and make you our starting linebacker. And he goes, you know what? This is a Broncos defense I want to play with at 5-5. They are definitely alive in the AFC playoff race. This one just doesn't seem to have a lot of stars aligning, right? Now, unfortunately, there is some truth to at least the possibility of Alex Singleton getting benched. He signed a pretty lucrative contract this offseason, so I don't think the Broncos want to pull the plug on him before Thanksgiving of year 1 of that extension. However, he has not been very good this year. PFF has him ranked 69th, nice, I know, all jokes aside, out of 81 qualifying linebackers. An overall grade of 57.7. He has 20 missed tackles. That leads the NFL, okay? Yards allowed, 459. So he's not only getting picked on in coverage, but he is not doing a great job in bringing down ball carriers. So, Alex Singleton not having a phenomenal year. And like I mentioned, when you look at Denver's linebacker room, Josey Jewell is as consistent as they come. He's on the last year of his deal. I could see the Broncos adding Shaq Leonard, benching Josey Jewell in Leonard's place because they think we might have a future with Leonard, whereas Jewell, we plan on letting him walk at the end of the year. But when you're at 5-5 and you're riding a 4-game winning streak carried by your defense, I'm guessing Vance Joseph is not running into Sean Payton's offense going, hey, I know everything is working well on defense, but can we make a major change, please? No. Right now, things are going well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The timing is just not right for Denver. Now, Shaq Leonard also is not having a very good season. Like, he's having an okay year, but he is not looking like anywhere close to where he was coming out of South Carolina State in all those early Pro Bowls and All-Pro nods he got. So I don't even know if I can make a good argument that adding Shaq Leonard means that the Broncos are going to be making an improvement if he does end up starting over Jewell or Singleton. And unless he wants to join a rotation which doesn't even really exist right now, to me, I'm just not seeing an easy path for Leonard to end up in Denver. But let me know, should the Broncos add Shaquille Leonard? Yes or no? Give me your opinion. On one hand, it's very tempting because if you are able to recapture that Pro Bowl All-Pro guy, man, to find a Pro Bowl All-Pro player in the midst of the prime of their career on the street in November, well, that does not happen just every year or so. I mean, that doesn't happen ever. But on the other hand, is there really a spot for him on this team at the moment? That I'm not so sure about. Next up on the show, we're going to talk about Kareem Jackson replacements because I am concerned for Denver's secondary without K-Jack moving forward for the next 4 games. But before we do, a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Here's how Prize Picks works. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less than on their projected stats, and place your entry. So for Turkey Day, for Thanksgiving, these are my selections. They are giving me Christian McCaffrey at half a yard. Just need to get 1 rushing or receiving yard. That's going to hit, of course. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs, more than 79.5 total yards. He is starting to get a nice roll over in the Motor City. I could see him getting a good bunch of yards. Tony Pollard, I'm taking the more on. And then Brandon Ayuk and DK Metcalf, more than half a touchdown combined. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link for that is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Switching gears now, let's talk about Kareem Jackson, who just got handed down a 4-game suspension after getting a suspension just 3 or 4 weeks ago, in which it was reduced from 4 down to 2. And in his first game back, he kind of goes, I wouldn't say head hunting, but he put his head down right into the upper chest of Josh Dobbs, which, listen, I think if you go frame by frame, it's not as egregious as maybe a 4-game suspension warrants. But also, if you're Kareem Jackson, shouldn't you know, maybe not on your 3rd play back from suspension, to go up high on a quarterback? I mean, I think it's just a little bit of a lack of awareness knowing the NFL clearly has a microscope on you. Maybe play it cool, at least the first quarterback from your suspension, and not try and take Josh Dobbs' shoulder off. I know it wasn't really a head hit, but it was very close at least. Now, his running mate, Justin Simmons, was not happy with this news, as he should be, because this defense is better with Kareem Jackson than without him. He said, "This is unbelievable. Dobbs on this play was playing running back. The tight end was under center, snapped the ball, and tossed it to Dobbs, who isn't defenseless. On 3rd and 1, where you're fighting for every yard, how are we supposed to stop a runner from falling forward?" And Simmons isn't wrong here, right? If that play happened in week 1, I don't think Kareem Jackson is getting a 4-game suspension, right? We would all be losing our minds if that happened in week 1. Like, are you kidding me? A hit to the shoulder? But it's not week 1. The guy has been ejected twice. He's been suspended already. He's been fined numerous times. You would think at some point he would go, maybe I should hold back just a little bit. Now, unfortunately for him, 3rd and 1 is not a spot where you do want to hold back, and he's just doing his job. But there is a little bit of read the room, Kareem. Like, the NFL clearly is watching you with a very close eye. Maybe don't go that high on a quarterback, even if he is a running back in this case. You just got to kind of know better, right? Now, Denver's safety room, it's going to be a bit shaky. You've got Justin Simmons, but then you got P.J. Locke, who left the Bills game with an ankle injury, and he was replaced by Delaire Turner-Yell, which every time he stepped on the field this season, it has been an unmitigated disaster. Go look at the Dolphins game if you don't believe me. And then J.L. Skinner, the rookie out of Boise State, who has not played a snap this year, was activated for this past Sunday's game. Maybe we see some Skinner action this upcoming Sunday. But if it is Delaire Turner-Yell filling in because P.J. Locke is not quite healthy yet from his ankle injury, I got bad news for you guys. He's the worst safety in football. Ranked dead last. 88 out of 88 qualifying players. Yards per reception, 23. Passer rating allowed, 158.3. I don't think there's a higher passer rating. I think that's the perfect passer rating. Isn't that the number Brock Purdy got on Sunday? So if it is DeLeon Turner-Yell starting on Sunday because P.J. Locke is not healthy and they don't want to go to J.L. Skinner, I've got a bad feeling for Denver secondary this upcoming week, or even past it with a 4-game suspension. So with that being said, maybe the Broncos turn to the free agency pool, right? What if P.J. Locke's ankle injury takes a little bit longer than expected or hoped for to recover from, and they don't want to go to DeLeon Turner-Yell, and they don't trust J.L. Skinner yet? Maybe they find a free agent safety to kind of hold down the fort amid this 4-game suspension for Kareem Jackson, because at 5-5, Denver has no time to waste. They cannot afford to just drop a game because of a wide open guy in the end zone on 3rd down in the 4th quarter because Kareem Jackson wasn't on the field. So sure, a lot of these players are older in their career and their best days are probably behind them, but that's the beauty of free agency in November. It's November. You don't need a guy for the rest of the season. Like, you don't need a guy for an entire year for 17 games. We just need someone to help us out for a few weeks. And Duron Harmon might be the guy for the job. He started the year on Baltimore's practice squad. He ultimately went to the Bears' active roster early in October. He was just released by the team on November 8th when they got healthy at the safety position as they were dealing with injuries to their 2 starting safeties, Eddie Jackson and Jaquan Brisker. And the former 3rd-round pick out of Rutgers from New England a decade ago has loads of NFL experience, and he is no doubt about it a better safety than DeLeon Turner-Yell and probably P.J. Locke. Now, those 2 guys are younger, and they bring some upside in terms of future and longevity with the team. But again, we are 5-5 right now. This is not a team that has any time or any games to waste. And if you're looking to bring someone in to help you get through this next month without Kareem Jackson, I would turn to free agency. I would throw one of these guys a vet minimum 1-year contract and just bring him on board for the next month or so and help keep the secondary intact. So let me know if you think Denver should go out and sign a safety. Type S for sign, type P for pass. Give me your honest reaction or opinion down below in the comment section. That's going to do it for us on this edition of the Broncos Breakdown. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everyone who takes time out of their day to come hang out with us here on the channel. So if you have not subscribed yet, make sure to go ahead and do so.